everybody, we're live with one of my favorite people, Jo Bendle. She is amazing at productivity. She helps you really like compress all that stuff that you're doing in your day so that way you have more time to do whatever you want to do, whether that is taking on more clients so you actually make more money because you have more space in your calendar you can actually put bookings into, or if you just want to go to the beach like Jo does in Spain, where she is right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is not about, this is very much about being able to create a life that you love. So yes, I'm very passionate about that.
That's awesome. Well, I always like live vicariously through your Instagram. If you haven't followed Jo, you really should, because you're just going to see like the beautiful life of Spain and just be like, okay, I want that. Like new life goals.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent. So, well, one of the things that the reason I get really, really excited about what we're going to talk about is because of exactly that. You know, like my life, I didn't used to live in Spain. My life did not look like this. And I basically use the tools that I practice what I preach to create what I call living big. And so that's why I'm always so excited to share all this stuff, because I'm like, it's for a bigger purpose, right? Productivity is for a big purpose. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's just the stepping stone. And I love that you did it for yourself, and you've been doing it for all your amazing clients who want to live big and like actually, live the life that they want to do. So when you're able to get more done in the day, it's like that's what allows you to do it. So you're not doing like stuck in all this like low grade stuff that, really keeps you small and doesn't let you actually grow the kind of business that supports the lifestyle that you want.
It's so true. Like most people, like nobody starts a business to work harder and then earn less. And yet most people end up doing that. And this is why I'm like on this mission of like, guys, this is why, I don't get excited about productivity. I get excited about what it can bring us,
Totally. Yeah. It's like that old quote that you've seen everywhere. It's like, I quit my job of working 40 hours to work 80 hours for myself. It's like, it doesn't actually have to be that way. That's not
right?
Your like life sentence.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. So
I'd love to hear your genius about a few things that we can do to just, help us, squeeze more into the time that we have, because we know that that is precious.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so today I'm going to kind of like touch on like this kind of 3-step profitable productivity framework. And that is really like, these are the 3 big things that I have used again and again on repeat to keep up leveling my business, keep up leveling my life, kind of like aligning my goals to my business goals, to my lifestyle goals. And like every time I up level, I go back through this process. And so it doesn't matter how many productivity tools I share with you guys today, if we don't also just come back and have a look at the actual, the process of this. And then, we'll finish up with some really like tangible stuff to help you.
Awesome. I'm super excited.
Oh, good. Well, the reason that these 3 things are, if we don't have these 3 things in place, we basically procrastinate. We might be working towards the wrong goals, or it could be other people's goals. They could be the should goals. We keep taking more courses, we keep studying. Maybe we do the safe things. For instance, just going to update my website again. You know the ones.
Yes, we're going to, it's going to get a huge, big spiff over.
Yeah, exactly. Or we start things, we never finish them. Like all of these things are happening because we haven't like really, like we're not being strategic about how we're showing up. All right. Yeah. So the first kind of like step really is about productivity comes for a purpose. And so what I mean by that is we need to align to your big vision. Like you need to know where you're trying to get to. So, yeah, you can crave freedom. Yes, you can have these big dreams in your heart, but you've got to claim them, right?
Totally. I'm putting this up because productivity needs a purpose. That's just so good. I'm like,
oh, perfect. Oh, this is clever. Yeah. Productivity needs a purpose. It really does. Like it's that internal motivator. This is where we need to start. And if we haven't got that, then, our to-do list is, well, we have an unhealthy attachment to our to-do list. You're going to feel overwhelmed. We feel guilty because we're either not showing up as mum or we're showing up, like all the different things. So it's like having this really powerful vision that it's like your North Star. Yeah, and that North Star is like
keeps you aligned with everything that you want.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So this is like, that's really step 1. And you know what? A lot of people will say to me, I don't know, they don't know what it is. And it's like, you don't need to know what the big purpose is. What you just need to know is right now, what am I working towards? Now,
so good.
And something I talk about is pinch me days. You will love this, because this concept is just like, how can we have more pinch me days? Now, a pinch me day is when I get to go to the beach and it's a Wednesday afternoon and I'm like, whoa, like pinching myself because this is my current reality.
I love that. Yeah. And it happens to me like pretty often that I just sort of realize, like, just a few years ago, like I have wanted this so badly and now it's just like normal and you're like, whoa.
Yes. That's what's so bizarre, isn't it? Like, it's so bizarre. We're just like, oh my gosh, like I used to visualize this. And so, yeah, like pinch me days are really, really important. And what else? So for me, how it worked out for me is that I used to live in the UK. And when I started thinking about my pinch me day or my perfect day, it was like, oh, I'd love to, my ideal day would start with running along the beach. And I lived in the middle of England, like no beach, it was hours to get to a beach.
You're like totally landlocked, like so far from creating your vision in your perfect day.
Totally. And the reason I share that is because it doesn't have to be that realistic right now. It's just something that's like, this is why I'm going to show up and not procrastinate on whatever's on my to-do list, or this is why I'm going to be focused about knowing exactly what my next step is. And then it became like my reality. I realized, oh my gosh, like I'm running along the beach and I used to visualize this and this is now my reality. And this is why it's important to have it. And like, I have like a really powerful story around this, which obviously we won't go into now, but it was like, I had this big dream to travel the world. I wanted my business to support me to travel the world. And so I ended up.
A lot of people have that same vision, but it feels so distant from what is possible right now.
And this is why this step has been so powerful for me, is because my lifestyle wasn't at that place. And I ended up being a digital nomad for 3 years and traveling the world before moving to Spain. And because I had that, it was that North Star that kept me going. And this is why I would show up and do the things on my to-do list that I didn't want to. So yeah, I love that you can share these these little bombs on here.
Oh,
so,
I know, because they're just so good. I'm like, I have to save this. I don't want to forget it. And I think that what you said was really powerful too, where you were able to do the things that were hard and you didn't necessarily want to do because you had the bigger vision in mind and you knew that was just like, that wasn't your everyday forever. It was just like, I just need to get this stuff done because that's what's going to get me to where I want to go.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, productivity. We procrastinate for a reason. So if we're stuck in perfectionism or procrastination or self-doubt, it's because of the fear. And like, if you have this bigger vision, then, like that pulls you out of that. Again, it's the comfort zone. So if we stay in the comfort zone, we basically, if we sit in our comfort zone, we stay where we are. And like that you have to just decide if that's okay or not. And sometimes it's necessary, but sometimes it's not okay. And we have to say, actually, this isn't okay. It's time for me to stretch. And that's when you can use this really powerful vision. And like, as I said, you can outgrow it. I outgrew it. I didn't want to travel anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh, take myself back through the process. What's next? Right, I want a home base. Where will it be? So you keep putting yourself back through it.
Yeah. And it's like, because I feel like a lot of people get to that point too, where it's like they reach their goal and they feel very like, what do we do now? Like drifting. Yeah. And it's like, if you actually start again and do your process, it again gives you another thing to align to. Yeah.
Because you obviously we outgrow things, and it's not, I think we're always going to be working on this stuff. And like you do sit, it's not about, this is definitely not about getting somewhere and going like, oh, what's next? It doesn't mean we have to keep striving, but it's having that internal motivation of like allowing us to keep on showing up when we getting outside the comfort zone. Yes. Yeah. So I think the action step for this really is about voicing your secret dream. Like, and I talk about it's like, what are you here to do? And you're here to make an impact. Maybe you want to write a book, maybe it's about hosting an event. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, what's your secret dream right now? Right? And voice your secret dream. I love it.
That is so good. Yes.
So powerful. And even just by acknowledging that it's there, it becomes, it's very, very powerful. So this is about Jim Rohn talks about setting the kind of goals that will make something of you to achieve. And this is what this is. We need that. Yeah, this isn't like on a weekly and monthly basis. They need to be like really practical steps, but we've got to have that bigger thing. So
So you need the two levels of goals. You need like the big one, and then also the little practical ones that will actually be the stepping stones to get you there.
Absolutely. So that's really about, we need to know what our next step is all the time. But first up, we need to know bigger picture where we're trying to get to. And at any stage we can course correct, but it is the North Star. Without that, it doesn't matter how many productivity tools you have, because you're going to just stay busy. You're going to stay overwhelmed. You're going to stay, really attached to your to-do list. That's the reality. And that's what I want, I want to move people away. So you kind of want to revisit this stage if you're not clear what you want or what you're working towards. You might have achieved something big for yourself, and now you kind of feel like you're sat back in your comfort zone. Maybe you just feel a bit blah, or you're out of alignment. That's another one. Sometimes we kind of drift off and follow someone else's path.
Oh, I see that a lot. Yeah, definitely.
I've done it. I've definitely done it as well. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is like somebody else's formula. It doesn't work. I don't feel, these things are not going to lead to fulfillment. So it's coming back to this stage when you're there. So
this is such a good step.
I told you, I just get so excited about it. So that's really kind of like step one in a nutshell. And then step two is, again, like we will get to the productivity stuff, but I just know from my own journey that these things have to come first. This is like your foundation. So step two is about mastering your mindset. And what I will say here is, and it's actually Mel Robbins I heard who said this, and I've stolen it. It's like, you're the problem and you are the solution.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this is so good, right? We're the problem because we are the ones that get in our own way. We've got to overcome our fears, our limiting beliefs, the self-doubt. But the empowering thing about this is we are also the solution. Like, we can do this. You're your only limit. So that makes me very, very excited. So I'm like, again, it doesn't matter about how many productivity tools I give you, how many goals you set, how many planners you buy. It doesn't matter how much action you take. You've got to work on your inner game. Otherwise, we're always going to be in that kind of like playing small place, not necessarily playing small, but like this is where we'll procrastinate, because our default will be like, I'm not good enough, or something around that.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't feel worthy and you don't feel good enough, you can't take the other actions in order to actually get the result that you want, because it's like you always have that underlying fear that's stopping you.
Yes. Yeah. So it's really big. And this is probably the thing that with step one, you can do it and it can be like this beautiful North Star. With step two, I just never stop. Every day I need to revisit, where's my mind at? What's my mind, where am I not sort of serving myself with some of my thoughts and things?
I do that too. Yeah. Every morning I do some sort of like exercise or journal or something along that line to keep me focused, because otherwise, like, the things do fall apart for me if I'm not looking after that mindset piece.
Yeah, massively. I really notice it. And like, actually part of that is for me moving my body. Like I move my body, like my thoughts are better, and then I show up differently in my business. And
because you can run on the beach now, so that makes it easier.
I know, right? And I was saying that actually, if anybody does end up following me on Insta stories, so yesterday I got up and did a run, and because it was like September, so now going out in September, the sunrise is a bit later. So when I go out and do my run, I've got this amazing sunrise as the reward.
Oh my God.
I'm just like, yeah, I was literally like, this is the best way to start my day. So that's really, really powerful. So there's lots of different mindset tools and things, and it's finding something that works for you. But the one that I will just briefly touch on, which I feel really is very much in line with step one, is this inner mentor figure. So we've got this inner critic in our head, the one that's, you're not good enough, you need another qualification, blah, blah, blah. We also have this inner mentor, which might be your future self. You can use different things, but for me, it's just basically, she's got a name and she's called the Real Joe. Right? Oh,
I love that.
The Real Joe. Right? And so the Real Joe is, as soon as I say the words the Real Joe, I'm like, I shift out of overthinking, over analyzing, and I'm somebody that really suffers with self-doubt. And so, as soon as I say the words the Real Joe, I'm like, oh, it's what would the Real Joe do? What would she say about this situation? Or how would she deal? What would her next action step be? So the point of this is it's your future self. So it's you that's in the future. Now, I also don't like going 10 years from now. So I'm like 6 months from now, maybe.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, because I don't know what my life is like from 10 years from now.
Yeah. No, I can't visualize that at all. And some people might be really long term. So you might just decide that, 5 or 10 years works. And it doesn't matter. Like, you can use it for any time that feels right for you. But for me, I'm just like, well, in 6 months' time. So the real Jo is like, she's already achieved some of the stuff because she's been showing up. And like, even on a daily basis, I'm like, what gift can I give Jo of 6 months from now? Well, actually, if I show up every day in my business from her energy, she's going to be thanking me. And a great example is right now. The me of now is high-fiving me of 5 years ago for the things that she did to get me here.
I think even just like a month or two ago, I think you're high-fiving yourself. You're like, hell yeah.
Yes, definitely. But how powerful is that? Like, when you actually start thinking, well, whatever I do now, future me is going to be like, nice one, girl.
Exactly. Bam. Nailed it.
So yeah, maybe, and like thinking of a name. So I have like, some of my clients might call it Millionaire Me. So, thinking of just something that feels powerful. For me, I really just, Real Jo is just a very powerful, has a really strong emotion for me. And so it's basically you in the future. She's achieving everything you desire. She takes time out. Maybe she travels. Maybe she's a best-selling author. What's her goals this week?
Yeah, I like that you're reverse engineering it. So it makes it a lot more realistic and easy, because you're like, oh, well, to be that person, I just have to do da, da, da. Yeah. Instead of like floundering on like, in a Google Doc.
Like so specific. So I just have to do da, da, da. Well, what specifically do I need to do? And it might be like, well, I need to go live once a week, or I need to do, like you get specific, and then suddenly it's like, and so the inner mentor thing is, it's not asking you to strive harder. It's really just this beautiful energy. And like, if you think about when I talked about the secret dream, it's like, imagine if you declared that from that energy, and like, or even to challenge yourself. Would the Real Jo think that's a big enough dream to go for? And like,
is that worthwhile? Is she dedicating her energy to that?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So yeah, really, really powerful. So you want to revisit this kind of like step or spend some time on your mindset if your self-doubt and your limiting beliefs are stopping you from taking action. Maybe you feel like you're in resistance, or if you find it hard to think big, I just don't know what I want. Procrastinating a lot, or your mind is full of unhelpful stories. Are you struggling to show up for the things that are going to make a difference? Like, really come back to that energy of your inner mentor. She knows the way. Trust her. And I definitely think giving her a name is really powerful.
I love that. Because it makes it feel so real, and you can really connect to it. It's not just like this vague thing. It's like, okay, what is she doing?
Yeah. Yes.
How do I get there? Oh, these are the things.
And the funny thing is, so because we're so used to the noisy voice in our head, that inner critic, that's the one we can hear the loudest. It shouts the loudest. And so from my experience, what happens is my inner critic is very, very vocal. And my inner mentor, she does not say a lot. But you know what? If I actually stop, maybe just meditate for a few minutes, and then I ask her, try and connect into her. Do you know what? Normally what she'll do is she'll just say, you've got this, or trust, or you're on the right track. She just gives me like a little pep talk. And I'm like, okay, off I go again. It's like she's just reminding me I'm on track.
It's like this little cheerleader that's there for you. Like, she's got your back. You just have to let her like do her thing.
And she's just, she's not full of all this crazy emotion like the inner critic is. It's just like, So hopefully that's really powerful.
That's a great exercise. I can't wait to do that.
Exactly. And like, there's so much things you can do from that. But just play with it. So that's step 2. So like really realizing if we know where we're going, we've got this great vision, and you're constantly working on your mindset, then it's really time to like shift into making it happen.
Okay.
And so step 3 is make it happen. And it's about reclaiming your time, aligning when we get a bit more practical with the goals, it's like aligning your goals to your live big vision, and focus on what matters, ditching the rest, basically.
Oh, that feels so good. I love getting rid of things. So you're like, does that really matter? And you're like, no, it doesn't. It just floats away.
Yeah. And like, it's so hard to do, but actually when we start doing it, it's like, and so I think if you're not aligning your monthly goals to your big dream, then you're not growing. And instead, what I think is you're wasting time. And this is why I really feel like, again, doesn't matter how many productivity tools we try, we've got to have these foundational pieces so that we're not just going around in circles. And that's the thing I say is you can't just do productivity. You know, most people will skip those first 2 steps. There's no point nailing productivity if you're not focusing on the right things. That's why
like running really fast on like your treadmill and getting nowhere.
Yeah, you stay busy, right? You're not just getting stuff done. You're just and you know, like this is again like productivity comes for a purpose. And so one of my absolute favorite quotes, which I share all the time, and this is what this step is about, is people do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. And like, I'm just going to say that
I'm just
again.
like getting like total chills just thinking about that. Like, because it is so in the small actions that determine what happens in the future.
It's so powerful when we realize people don't decide their futures, they decide their habits. Their habits will decide their future. When I first read that, I was just like, wow, it's really, really powerful. And so then you need to be asking yourself, are my current habits going to take me to where I want to get to? You know, like, are they the ones that my future self will be proud of, kind of thing?
Oh, that's so good. So good.
Yes. Yeah. And like most of us, like actually I was speaking on stage in March, and I had everybody stand up and I talked about this habits thing, and I said, now I want everyone to sit down if your current habits are going to take you to where you want to go, or whatever I talked about. And literally everyone but 2 people sat down, and I was like, this is literally so powerful that we all know that actually our current habits are not okay, not good enough.
Yeah.
It was like, what? I mean, I was kind of like a risk of like, is this going to work? And it was like, oh yeah, that was powerful.
Yeah. When you see that, like that whole room just like, and you could probably feel like the energy shift in that room too when that happened. We're just like, whoa.
Whoa. Yeah. And I think it's good. It's like, that's the other thing I always say to anyone that starts working with me is, it's really confronting when you start, you know, this isn't just about getting more productive. And like productivity is very confronting. It triggers so much stuff because it's showing us where we're not showing up for the things we said we want.
Yeah. Like, oh, totally. Because it like magnifies all the areas that you're like, I didn't do these small things. And it is confronting and super triggering.
Yeah, really, really triggering. It's just, oh my gosh. And most people will just be like, oh no, this isn't for me. It doesn't work for me. And I look and I'm like, I know it's really difficult. And you've got to just, that's why I kind of like try and say, you know, anyway. So this step 3, making it happen, this is where it gets a bit more practical. And the other thing I will say is like, most of us have heard of the 80-20 rule, that Pareto principle. Okay. So we know about it, but do we actually work by it? So 2 things from a to-do list that's got 10 things on are going to change the game. Do you do those 2 things first?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Because if you don't, you're working harder than you need to because you're not prioritizing effectively. Yeah.
I have to put this. I have to put that. 2 things from a checklist of 10 will change the game. That is amazing. It feels so practical when you put it in terms of a checklist because like, look at, that's how I do my day.
Perfect. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
And it's true because like, when you realize like only 2 of those things are the things that move the needle, you're like, wow, I could scrap so much of that.
Oh my God. Like really, if every day you were like, what's the 2 things? You know, we always hear about what's the one thing. And we all know about like the 80-20, but it's like, actually, if I really get like very, very practical about this, there are 2 things on there that are going to be more important. And if we always prioritize those, we're going to grow. We're going to get more clients. Things are going to change. Yeah.
And that's the habit. That's the habit of prioritizing those 2 things.
Yeah. And again, that's the confronting bit because those 2 things are the things that are going to take you out your comfort zone, or you've been resisting them because there's fear. Guaranteed, those 2 things are going to be uncomfortable. And that's why we're like, you know, it is this triggering thing, but it's also comes back to that you're the problem, you're the solution. There is a really empowering energy to this, that we have that choice.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like, do you just take it and do you go through the sort of like the ugly feelings sometimes that come up? Like you're dredging up the stuff that you're like, okay, I know I'm holding myself back. And it can be really awful to sort of like face that. So yeah, when you make it practical of like, okay, you can just wipe those 8 things off your to-do list and just not do them, and those 2 things will make the big difference. It's like, now it feels practical and doable and less like ugly.
Yeah, and it feels lighter because you know you're working on the right things. Like it comes, and it's practice as well. Like we're constantly practicing it, but it has this different shift in energy around things. You just know, like, I am showing up as the real Joe, or my inner mentor, or my future self, and that is actually super empowering. And like, again, it comes back to this momentum. Like, success builds momentum. So but yeah, I want to try and give you some more practical stuff around, like, actually how do we show up on a weekly basis to actually be more productive. So a couple of things that are really powerful for me, and I honestly, like, simple. This is about keeping it really simple. Like, we don't need to have complex processes for this, but what we do, it's the habits thing. If there's 2 or 3 things that you do consistently, it's going to change things. So one of my biggest, probably my secret weapon in my business, is what I call my weekly CEO date. And it could be, I mean, it probably does need a sexier name, which you might have some suggestions on, but like basically, this is, I would hold mine on a Friday afternoon. You need to treat it like it's a client appointment that you can't not show up for. So every week I show up, and again, I want to host this meeting from the energy of I want to show up to this meeting as my inner mentor, right? And this is where I get to look back on the last 7 days. Like, what did I learn? What did I achieve? I always set 7-day goals, right?
Yeah, because that feels, again, so doable and like in reach and realistic. We can like vision ourselves next Friday.
Yeah, totally. So for me, I always have a monthly goal, right? But I never ever it's the thing that I'm always working towards is a weekly goal. And 4 of those 4 weekly goals mean I complete my monthly goal. So it's always just breaking it down. So every week I'm like, if I achieve this, I'm going to get to the end of the month having achieved my monthly goal. So this weekly CEO date is like a beautiful check-in where you're like, okay, what did I learn from this week? Is there anything I want to know about going into next week? Did I achieve the goal? If not, why not? You know, like, just really, it can be super quick. But then the next part of it is, what's the 7-day goal? What do I want to be celebrating this time next week?
Oh, I like that. What do I want to be celebrating this time next week?
Yeah, because then you've got to really, again, it's about shifting that energy and making this fun. So, well, I'll just go off on a tangent, but like, when you're setting goals, like, make sure you word them so they feel exciting. And if it's a goal that maybe isn't exciting, but you know it's the next step, still reword it so it feels exciting. Or I always put a why. So I have to have a why this is my goal, because then I either know if it's the wrong goal or a should goal, but it gives me that motivation. So, like, what do I want to be celebrating this time next week? And then, right, okay, so when will I work on that? And that's when, like, you look at the next 7 days and you're like, okay, time block here, time block here. And so you don't want to ever have to show up to your week or your day and go, right, I've got a massive to-do list. I'm just going to start working my way through it. I've got 160 hours ahead.
Like, no priority, just like, yeah.
And that the people that do that will always get to the end of the day and the end of the week feeling unaccomplished. Yeah. And so I don't really encourage anybody to work from a to-do list. What I want them to work from is a daily action list, like you're sharing. It's like, I've got a massive to-do list.
Totally it. Like, exactly everything is like super actionable, like little bite-sized things.
Yeah. So I have like this big master to-do list in Asana, but on a daily basis, yes, exactly. On a daily basis, I just want to see like the 1 to 3 MIAs, your most important actions that need to happen today. And then they need to be done first. And so this is so moving away from working from a big long to-do list. It's not it's not a good thing, but ultimately this is about like your weekly CO day, massive secret weapon, because every time whenever I do it, I feel the next week I feel calm, I feel in control. It's really, really powerful.
And you have a plan for that week where you're like, you're going into it not only with the energy, but also like a clear, definite plan of like the things you have to do in order to reach that goal. So you're like, I just have to do this.
Yeah. It's like you said as well, it's bite-sized. Like, suddenly you come back to thinking like making it we're allowed to make this easy for ourselves, like making it achievable. So weekly CEO date. The other thing is I not working from a big to-do list. Also, like, how you start your day and how you end your day is really important. So I like to end my day with like a 5-minute end of day review. Again, not the sexiest of names. You can tell that my job is different to yours, I'm like, end of day review. And so that is literally 5 minutes. It's just like, what did I achieve today? Because most of us are beating ourselves up that we didn't show up for whatever, we didn't do this, that, and the other. So it's actually acknowledging, what did I achieve today, and giving yourself a high five. And then being like, what are the 1 to 3 most important actions that I need to do tomorrow? And then closing off. It's like closure. You can go and be whatever role you need to step into. But then the second part of that is that in the morning is what I call a mighty 90, which is like a 90-minute block of time in the morning, distraction free, before emails, before social media. I always talk about this and everyone's like, yeah. But it's something to aim for.
And also really hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's something to aim for. So if you start your day with a mighty 90, and if you can't do 90 minutes, then maybe it's 60 minutes, maybe it's 45 minutes. But that's when you're going to work on those 2 things from that list of 10, basically. Right? And if you do that every morning for 1 week, things are going to be very, very different by the end of the week, because you prioritize every morning. It's a bit like Brian Tracy talking about eat that frog. He's like, get up, eat the frog. That's the worst thing you'll ever have to do that day.
And maybe that's the only things you had to do that day.
Yes, exactly.
You could actually just like wipe the rest of it off, and you're like,
yeah. I think that's actually really true as well. That once we do prioritize what's really important, you can get rid of a lot. So if it's that mighty 90 in the morning is really powerful if you've done your end of day review, because what you've done is said, this is what I'm going to do in my 90-minute block tomorrow morning. And when you start work, this is when you can see you've got your action list. It's got 1 to 3 things. You can't see anything else, and you start doing them.
Yeah, it makes it easy to take action.
Yeah, you can't. And that's the other thing about the mindset, is that my mind, if I sit down and go, oh, what should I do first? My mind is like, she's got doubt. I'm going to bring in the self-doubt. You're not good enough. Blah, blah, blah. Whereas if I sit down confidently, right, I'm just going to start on this first task, the mind is like, oh, there's no room to jump in and derail her.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're too focused, like your blinders are on. The mindset gremlins can't wedge their way in.
Yeah. So again, it's really, really simple. If every day for, even just 1 week, you did your CEO day, and then for the next week, you did a quick end of day review, you did your 90 minutes or 60, whatever it is, in the morning, or as early in the day as you can, is my suggestion. If you're somebody that's really great at working in the evening, do it in the evening. It's not that you have to do it in the morning, but for me, I just want to get in, do it, and then I can go procrastinate, and it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
If you just did those 3 things, like, actually, it's going to be game changing for how much you achieve.
I love this. Oh my gosh, so good.
So there's like loads of things about productivity, but ultimately it's just about just starting there, and maybe setting times for when you do check your emails and when you do check social media. Can you put a couple of 30-minute slots in the day and then have it turned off any other time? And that's just you saying, my work is a priority, instead of being everyone else's to do. Like, as soon as we check our email, we're basically going, everyone else's to-do list is more important than mine.
Oh yeah, I feel like I'm on a horse sometimes, and you're like, like that's how I feel if I get into the email thing. So I try and like just shut it off and do the things I have to do, because it's like I'm able to get so much more done in that time. Yeah, it's so amazing. And it's like you said, it's hard. The first thing we want to do is a bit of scrolling, but then also asking yourself, like, how does that make me feel? Like, how do I, doing it is, I also treat everything like an experiment. So everything for me is like, this is an experiment, and I just want to be kind of self-aware of like, what happened the day that I got up and ran? Oh, I felt very different. I showed up very different to the day that I spent the first hour scrolling. And like, once we start being aware of that as well, it's like, interesting. And I definitely don't nail it. Like, this is why I'm saying, like, simple tactics, trying to be consistent with them, but also just being okay that we're doing the best we can, and this is going to be better than what it was. So kind of like revisiting this step then, if you get to the end of the day or the week and you feel unaccomplished, you know what your big vision is, but you really struggle to break it down into practical steps. So you've got a big goal, but you find it really hard to align your business goals to that lifestyle. Or you don't know what your priorities are from a day-to-day thing.
and you just want to procrastinate less, basically. So that's kind of like the 3-step process of like, we need to know where we're heading, we've got to work on that inner game, and then we need to just find a way to make it happen. And it's not that necessarily they go in that order. It's just like, where are you at? What do you need right now? And I'm constantly popping in and out of each one depending on what I need. So yeah, how does that help? If you got any questions?
Gosh, there was so good. I don't even know how many little notes I took, but there's just like so many things. There were so many I missed because it just kept coming so fast. So this has been so amazing.
Thank you. I'm so grateful. I love it. As you know, I love talking about it because I'm just like, it's game changing.
It is,
and
yeah,
hard.
Completely.
Yeah.
And we've seen it in your life and your clients' life.
Yes.
So it's just like so fun to talk to somebody who's living proof of like, okay, I have this process and it works. And it's just like, you can rinse, repeat it and apply it to every area of your life, essentially. And it will help you reach that goal.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest, this is why I get excited, because if I look back at all of the things, how I've managed to just do different things, it's like, oh yeah, those 3 things have been like, this is exactly what I did. Again, and then I put myself back through it again, and yeah,
and it's like you just keep doing it.
Yeah,
I can't wait to do the future self thing. I'm super excited about this. I know my little. I'm always like looking for my journal exercise of the day. So tomorrow morning, that's what's going to happen. So
love it. Yes, enjoy it. That's going to be so motivating. Yeah.
Jo, where can everyone else find you? Because I know that this is just the tip of the iceberg of the goodness that you have. And where is the best place to connect with you to get a little just shred of your genius?
It's a good question. I think probably Instagram is a good place. That's Jo_Bendle. On Facebook, I am Be Wildly Successful. So that's also, there is a Facebook group, various places, but ultimately you'll find me on Instagram, and I generally show up there and share random stuff. So
I love
come and stalk me, come and ask questions, and tell me what what's working for you. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. It was such a wonderful interview, and like my brain is exploding and I can't even wait to write this email for people to go out tomorrow. It's just going to be like the longest thing ever of so many genius downloads.
Oh, thank you. Well, thanks for having me. As always, it's so good to connect.
It was. Have a great day.
And you. Bye.
Bye.